It is indeed a lovely, lovely good morning. It is Women's Day today, and of course, we can only wish all the women a very, 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 very happy Women's Day. All right, so I'm in the studio, and of course, we have a discussion, and of course, we'll be looking at a lot of things, to do with climate. All right, so I'm not alone in the studio. I am joined by Madam Monica Chundama. Of course, she's a board chairperson coming from Zambia Climate Change Network. Madam, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, great. And of course, I also have Mr. Nkata. Mr. Nkata, good morning, and of course, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Not a stranger here.
Of course. And before we even start discussing anything,
yes,
I'd like to say Happy Women's Day to all the women, and specifically to all the wives of pastors and deacons.
Why specifically?
I'm interested in doing that. Okay, and of course not forgetting the First Lady, also a passionate follower of climate change things, and our Vice President. Right. Happy Women's Day.
Right, interesting. Great, of course, Happy Women's Day. So let me just, to start, maybe let me get to Madam Monica. Maybe you can just tell us a bit about Zambia Climate Change Network. What is it all about?
First of all, I'd like to say good morning to all the viewers, and Happy Women's Day to all the women across the country. This is an auspicious day for everybody, and I hope that it goes well for all the women out there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So the Zambia Climate Change Network is a membership-based organization, and it was formed way back in 2008, following the interest of like-minded institutions. In fact, our first meeting was supported by the wide WWF, the Worldwide Fund for Nature. And following that initial meeting, the Zambia Climate Change Network was then registered in 2011. Okay. And the essence, or really the reason why this organization came to be is basically to support or to make Zambia a climate resilience country, but also we are interested in contributing to achievement of environmental sustainability within our country. So our members are countrywide, and we also have members not only in Lusaka, but across the country in a number of districts. The membership itself is composed of organizations that are looking at various issues, and one of those issues obviously is gender, and specifically women as well.
Right, great, well said. And of course, talking about gender, even as we commemorate, Women's Day, how does the Zambia Climate Change Network prioritize gender equality within the climate change initiatives, particularly addressing its impacts like the current El Nino?
Okay, maybe before I go into sharing how we integrate gender in our work, let me just perhaps explain what El Nino is, so that the viewers out there may understand what this phenomenon is all about. So El Nino is a weather pattern that's associated with high temperatures. And of course, there's the opposite, which is called La Nina, if you're aware of that. La Nina is associated with cooler temperatures. So with El Nino, the high temperatures are responsible for what we're seeing right now, because high temperatures obviously have the effect of drying up the climate, the atmosphere. So we're seeing all these droughts because of the very high temperatures that result from El Nino. Yeah. So we in the Zambia Climate Change Network are very conversant of the changing climate, and we specifically have targeted various aspects of our work in terms of how we can address or contribute to building climate resilience within the country. And of course, gender is a cross-cutting issue that generally is a part of our programming. And our programming is essentially focusing on institutional building and governance, information sharing, and capacity building. But we also do some advocacy work around what we think are the issues that can be done differently. And in here, in this respect, I'm referring to our work in policy influence. And so we work within our membership, our members work on various aspects of the focus areas that I've described, but gender cuts across all those areas. For example, if we're talking about policy work and gender, what are the sorts of policies that we would like government to put in place to support women, especially in terms of climate change? So our work will also fall in that area.
All right. Interesting. Mr. Nkata, what triggered your concern about climate?
Yeah, quite a number of factors. That firstly, I've got a background of working in the health sector, and definitely we do understand the impact of weather on disease patterns and emerging diseases. And one key point was when we were having the Ebola, and there was a discussion of this thing being manufactured, the Ebola being manufactured. But that is also affected by the result of environmental changes. The environment has got its own way of managing the biodiversity, and when we affect it, it generates us to experience new conditions, which results in kind of bring out new diseases, and then we wonder how this has happened, because some of the parasites or fungus, bacteria, or even viruses are suppressed, by the ecosystem. So it's like if we have if we have like a forest, or let me say, what would I call it? A forest or a jungle without lions, you are going to expect that you're going to have more impalas than nature needs. And because you're having more impalas than nature needs, it will generate its own problem, like bring out more greenhouse gases, which will affect the climate change. So nature has got its own way of also balancing the environment. But man basically has interfered with the environment, hence some of these challenges that we're having. Then the other part of the influence was through international media, like CNN, because they were doing a lot of reports on climate change, and that's what really actually strengthened and grew my interest into climate change.
All right. Well said right there. Let me get back to Madam Monica. Are there any specific challenges that women face regarding climate change and food security in Zambia, amidst same El Nino?
Yes, certainly. I think what we should all be aware of is that climate change is not gender neutral, meaning that it's going to affect everybody, both male and female. Yes. But because of the existing inequalities that women experience, women, I think, have a harder time coping with the impacts of climate change. So you may be also aware that, excuse me, women are primary caregivers. And in terms of primary caregiving, women look after the household. The women are also out there collecting firewood. Women are cooking. Women are looking after the sick. And all these aspects need resources. And one of the resources that is impacted by climate change is water. So there's either too much water or there's too little water. And if there's too little water, women have to go further afield to look for water, to get clean water for their household. If there's too much water also, there's not availability of clean water. If there are floods, there's no clean water around. So you can see how climate change impacts women. But also there are issues of access to health and also access to food. All these areas are impacted by climate change. So that's why we say women are more impacted by climate change. In fact, climate change is a threat multiplier for women. So that's why we should be aware of the inequalities that affect women. And climate change only acts or exacerbates those inequalities.
All right, Mr. Nkata, I noticed you nodding. You are agreeing.
Very much. Actually, I define a woman as a person that multitasks. She can actually cook shima whilst running away from a lion to feed the baby, you know. So that's how important they are. And that's the reason why we are actually celebrating them. And that's great. That's really great. But again, their involvement in climate change to me is a big plus. Reasons being they are the best communicators. It be non-verbal or verbal. They've got more ability than us the men.
Right.
Oh, thank you for that.
Now on this special day, definitely.
No, okay, that is a fact. A lady can learn to read faster than a man.
Okay.
And a lady can learn a language faster than a man. So, like, for example, in homes, you find the lady will know the husband's language, but the husband will struggle, even if you say 50-year marriage. Those are facts.
Yeah. All right. I said, so going forward, do you think climate change will impact on food security?
Definitely, yeah, definitely, because if there's a drought, you don't expect a good harvest. So we have diverse communities, and we'll have different kind of challenges. For example, in the villages, these are subsistence farmers that rely on the crop that they grow to eat and send their children to school or even access health services. Now, without this crop, their hands are tied. For our average citizen, it will mean that the food prices will soar because there's less on the market, because we have less food on the market. We are not saying that there'll be less food. We don't know the plans of government, but basically for the rural areas, that's a definite impact.
All right. We'll say, let me get back to Madam Monica. How is Zambia Climate Change Network collaborating with other civil society organizations?
Working with rural women to multiply local seed. And you know that local seed is perhaps more available to poor rural women of integrating climate change and gender into their work.
All right. So is there anything that we can do to safeguard and enhance food security in relation with the climate?
Yeah, there are many areas where we could perhaps be working to ensure that food security is perhaps enhanced or increased. One of those areas is how we manage our water. Okay, and I had said earlier that climate change is either there's too much water, for example, in a flood year, or there's too little water. So when there's too much water, what is it that we can do to ensure that we harness that water and use it for drier periods? Are we looking at those areas? Where there's too little water, what are we doing in terms of looking at what sort of, perhaps, how would you say it, crops that could weather dry periods? Are we looking at those areas? Are we promoting those sort of crops? Are we ensuring that there are markets for those sort of crops? So these are some of the areas that we could be, looking at in terms of ensuring that food security is increased within our communities. And then there are also crops that perhaps are unknown that could be of help to us. And I think we should be looking at doing research into those crops and seeing how they could perhaps better help us in the future.
Right. Mr. Nkata, maybe you can also jump on that, the same question.
Okay, and she's articulated very well. Yeah, so I think the other thing is that we have quite a number of drought-resistant crops. I think one of our experts next time should be able to come and discuss more. Yeah, we respect the boundaries. Yeah. But of course there are crops like millet, for example. They are used in certain parts of Zambia, but in other parts are not. So we need to begin encouraging the introduction of these crops to actually circulate in the country so that we begin to adapt and respond to climate change. Because
is that something that has already started, or maybe?
I think there are plans and it's starting, but I think we have to amplify, because already we are crying we are crying that we might not have a lot of maize. But that is important, and we need to encourage ourselves. Yeah.
All right. Well said. Okay, going forward, what more can CSOs do to amplify the voices of women affected by climate change and advocate for gender-responsive policies at both local and national level?
There are several areas where we could be working in terms of amplifying voice, but perhaps just to mention a few, I think one of those is placing emphasis on raising awareness amongst stakeholders of the importance of gender, and also the importance specifically of women and the contributions that women can make in perhaps addressing or dealing with climate change issues. Local women are very knowledgeable. They know their environment and they know what can help them or perhaps not help them. And I think we should be also tapping into that local knowledge in terms of what is it that communities are aware of, the skills and knowledge within communities that can, be harnessed to help the communities themselves. The other area I think which we should be looking at is developing tools that can help women and young people in general to perhaps identify and articulate some of the issues that affect them, to be able to address those issues much more effectively. And for us, we'll be working very closely amongst our membership to be able to identify those tools that we can then implement within communities to assist communities at that level.
All right. We'll say it right there. All right. So we are, you can also be part of the program. You can come through on the number 0977 72 8000. You can also, make a contribution on this subject matter. And of course, it is women and climate change. That's what we are talking about. Okay, so going forward, how are women involved in promoting food security and your programs across the country?
I had said before that, first of all, you're probably aware that many rural women are farmers. That's a primary activity that, women do, and it also contributes to producing food, but also food security. A lot of the maize that we have in Zambia is produced by small-scale farmers, okay? And I think we should applaud them for that. But also, women are, as I had said, primary caregivers. They ensure that the families are well fed, okay? And there are actually crops that perhaps relate only to women, you know, that women may opt to grow, which are also not only food secure crops, or rather crops that are contributing to food security, but crops that are also ensuring that the family has good nutrition. Cowpeas, for example, groundnuts, okay, foods like that. Those are foods that provide security to the household, and I think women should be encouraged to grow these crops on perhaps a larger scale or more intensely.
All right. Great. Mr. Nkata, looking at, you know, the weather pattern these days, you know, we haven't had so much rain. Maybe going forward, what kind of crops, you know, would you identify that would be that would be planted instead of the usual maize that we usually do?
Okay, I think that's a question for our experts. But what we can safely recommend is that people should get interested in seeing what the meteorological department is saying. So they usually give advice in terms of what crop can be planted, what seed can be planted, in which geographical area, and how the rain pattern is going to be. So I think they're the backbone if we want to know what is going to happen in terms of rain pattern. And I think we should encourage most of our people to start finding out how best they can access that information.
All right, so just adding on that, Mr. Nkata, what do you believe the Zambian government should play in addressing the same issue of climate change?
Okay, the first thing government should do is actually doing is to generate the awareness that the problem of climate change is existing, and then they should continue encouraging us also to participate in the awareness through civil societies like the CCN, but also bring on board more stakeholders like churches or people of faith, of different faith, and have more community-based activities that are able to help educate the populace on issues of climate change and what we should do, and when we say what we should do, the do's and don'ts, and also they learn how to adapt to save our environment and to survive.
All right, so it's women and climate change. Come through, you can send me that text message on that number which is on your screen, and of course you can tell us where you are getting us from, and you can also add your voice on this matter, which is you know, quite very, very, very important. Do you think this issue has been really given the importance that it requires, Mr. Nkata?
Climate change?
Yes.
It is being given the importance. The issue is probably we need to develop new tools on how to communicate, to strengthen the communication aspect of us reaching out to the populace. We need to find innovative ways of how to build interest. There has been a lot of information that has been given out by government and civil society, and they have done a great job at that. Yeah, but we have to work on building interest in our people so that they pay more attention. Yeah.
All right, Madam Monica, how can the Zambia Climate Change Network work with government agencies to ensure that climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies prioritize the needs and experiences of women?
Okay, perhaps speaking more generally, and because climate change is a developmental issue, I think one of the priorities I think would be to encourage women in participate in leadership, both in the political sense, but as well as in climate change issues. Okay, you're probably aware that we have very few women parliamentarians, and that body is where our policies are made. And we would like to see better policies perhaps adopted to raise the profile of women. The other thing I think is also to ensure that women are involved in, for example, participation in conferences. And again, this is a leadership issue. Okay? And here I'm speaking specifically about areas where climate change actions are being negotiated. For example, this conference of the United Nations conferences on climate change, women should be involved there. I was looking at the UN report the other day that said out of all the delegations that attend these conference of parties, only 12% of those delegations have women negotiators. And it's equally the same here in Zambia. How many of our negotiators at these conferences are women? So we should be doing something about that. Because if women are not sitting at the table, then, well, your voices will not be heard or amplified. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we in civil society want to be advocating for, that we have more women in leadership, that we capacitate women to understand these climate change processes, both at local level, but as well as international level, because it will be only to their benefit. But of course, also to the benefit of the country. Yeah.
All right. So as an organization, are you working with the government?
Yes, we are working with government through our secretariat, but also through the many organizations that are part of our network. And we will continue to engage government, not only in respect of existing policies. For example, we as civil society also have the onus of ensuring that the outcomes of the 8th National Development Plan are achieved in terms of mitigation and adaptation outcomes for the country, but also ensuring environmental sustainability for the country. So our network will be happily working with government to achieve those outcomes.
All right.
But also there are other policy areas that we would like to engage with government. For example, we have the national determined contributions that government has set forth, but also programs like the National Adaptation Program for the country.
All right. You want to add something?
Yeah, I'll take you back. First of all, Zambia Climate Change Network, I think they've impressed me when they're talking about women representation. They're not just talking with words. Okay. Of course, you're seeing the board chair is a woman. The current acting national coordinator is a woman, and we say wow to you.
Thank you.
We say wow. Yeah. They walk the talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, maybe also just to go back, the former national coordinator was a man, so they walk the talk.
Yeah. All right. Still with you, Mr. Nkata. What is the global reaction towards climate change?
Hey, there are so many reactions and actions, but I think from the leaders, climate change is an alarming subject because it borders on politics, it borders on economics, it borders on the health of the people. So it's a big, big subject that is changing the way we live or we're going to live, and it's going to change our habits like the way COVID changed our habits. We started washing our hands up. So it's really impacted us in a very big way economically, in the sense that sometimes trade is disrupted because of floods.
Yeah.
The destruction of infrastructure, roads, bridges are swept out. In terms of food security, it reduces the output of food, like we are seeing as what is happening now in Zambia. We don't expect a very good crop. And from Oxfam report, I think they are saying 80% of our districts have been affected by drought, and we have 116 districts by the way. So if you are talking about 80%, that's a big thing. So even when you bring it here back home, we have lost an economy in agriculture. So that's an impact. We have a problem with food security at household level. That's an impact. So this same impact is replicated across the globe.
All right. Let me get back to Madam Monica. Are there any ongoing projects or initiatives led by the Zambia Climate Change Network that specifically target women empowerment in the context of climate change adaptation?
Yes, certainly. We have several projects that our Secretariat is implementing, which perhaps I shall talk about, but there are also projects that are being implemented by our wider membership.
Okay.
And they are in various sectors of the environment. As I had said, we're a network, supported by many members. And one of our focus areas is actually advocacy. Okay. We advocate for certain positions, and we advocate mainly to stakeholders within the sector, but also to government, because we want to see effective policies being put in place to address issues of climate change. So one of our focus areas is to strengthen the advocacy capacity of our members. Okay. Then we're also looking at one of our projects looks also at gender and climate justice, especially in the rural areas. And here we're looking at focusing on injustices that deter rural communities from adapting or addressing climate change issues. The other area that we look at is focused on information sharing and networking within our membership. Information sharing in terms of what is happening in the policy arena, what is happening, for example, in specific areas such as climate change, but also information sharing generally in terms of what is happening in terms of increasing environmental sustainability in the country. So one of the requirements of the Secretariat is to share this information with the members, so that members are aware of what's happening.
Right.
But also we also do policy advocacy, and policy advocacy cuts across many of our activities, because the idea is really, if you're going to advocate on certain policies, you must be generating evidence on the ground that either this policy is working well or it isn't working well. And you want to project that to whichever stakeholder is responsible for the policy. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Nkata, how can we strengthen education and communication on this matter of climate change?
There are a lot of strategies that can be effected. Of course, there's the development of the new curriculum in the Ministry of Education to focus more also on issues of climate change. That is a big start. However, there is a question of before we overload the education sector, or Ministry of Education rather, we have to ask ourselves the question, which environment actually influences the behavior of a child or a learner more? Is it the home environment or the school environment? So I'll give you an example. If we are just going to focus on the education sector as through the Ministry of Education, we'll miss the point, because if I'm a parent and I've taught my child not to throw a paper or always pick up a paper when it's down, they'll do it. They won't learn that from school. So no matter how much the school preaches that, it won't work. So this is why when you go to schools, if people are coming from a particular community, they'll come into the school with a particular behavior. The school environment won't change that behavior. You understand? They'll go back with the same behavior. So it's very important not to just look at the school activities, but how we can help the children in their home environments, how we can help encourage our parents to guide our children, learners to actually have positive.
Extracurricular.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, the advice is we really need to have a research on which component has got a bigger psychological and behavioral impact on what we want to do. Otherwise, we'll miss the point.
Yeah, all right. In relation to the same question, what measures are being taken to ensure that women, particularly those in rural communities, have access to climate resilient agriculture practices and technology? Maybe this one can be for both of you.
Okay. First and foremost, like said, at ZCCN, they have a gender desk, okay, which focuses on women. And from there, now they look at partners that have got the capacity to interpret the technology, and then they're able to link and get that particular institution to do the mentorship in various communities and empower other women. So that's the strategy.
But we also focus on advocacy, ensuring that the rural woman has the information, but also that the rural woman has access to new technologies, especially in terms of agriculture, and for example, which crop varieties that they could make use of. So there are those aspects that we work together with partner organizations on the ground and ensure that the rural woman is also getting what is due to her.
All right. So I can see that you are focusing more on the rural women, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
Because the rural woman is more disadvantaged than anybody else. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So in light of the El Nino-induced food insecurity, how can the Zambia Climate Change Network collaborate with the international partners to support women empowerment and food security initiatives?
Okay. We have apart from the horizontal arrangement in terms of the partnership that we have within the country, we are also vertically connected to the international community.
Okay.
And the Zambia platform is actually a recognized platform under an Africa-wide platform called the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, which is based out of Nairobi. Now, the Pan-African Justice Alliance brings together many similar platforms such as ours across the continent together. In fact, there are 18 platforms that are part of the PACJA setup. But apart from that, PACJA also has associated members, and over 1,000 of those across Africa are part of the PACJA network. Now, through PACJA, because in climate change issues, a single voice such as ours, or even at country level, cannot be heard. So we need to amplify voices, first of all, to the Africa platform or Africa level, and then obviously to the international level in terms of some of these meetings that are held at global level. So through our alliance, or rather our connection to PACJA, we are able to link into international platforms that advocate for positions for Africa, first of all, as a special needs continent, but also those needs that are advocated for at national level, at international Africa level, also benefit the country. So in that way, that is how the Zambia Climate Change Network is connected to international platforms.
All right. Somebody has sent in a text message and they say, I stay in a compound. Everyone is using charcoal. There is no serious programs of discouraging on using charcoal, and women are the ones who need education.
Go ahead.
Okay, very, very good question. First of all, we appreciate the question, But I think this platform is about educating each other. So let's begin the education. When we are trying to sort out a problem, it's not about the blame game, first of all. It's about understanding what should be done. So the first thing is that if we are not innovative enough, we'll continue with a cycle of burning charcoal because we need what? Energy. So the issue here is that we should all focus on developing clean energy. Those of us that champion to say we've got the brains, I want to see the innovation so that we bring out solutions that will reduce the price of getting clean energy, okay? Because when we have the price of clean energy reduced, we'll automatically kill the demand of charcoal. So it means the energy should be cheap, the tools to use that energy should also be cheap. So that's a challenge for us as civil society, the big brains and government.
Okay, so has anything been done enough, in terms of education, educating the masses concerning climate change?
Actually, there is a lot of information. But you know what it is that if you like listening to rumba, I play Kalindula, you will not listen to Kalindula. You see the point? So this is why I was trying to say, we as civil society, especially ZCCN, has recognized that challenge. And now the point of what we're trying to do is how do we sort out this problem with using new communication tools that will develop the interest first before we write the information on. Yeah, you need to have a fertile ground where we know, oh, we put fertilizer here. So now we can plant the seed, and that's what we're trying to work to.
All right. Interesting, even as we'll be getting closer, to the end of the program. Maybe is there anything that you would want to add, Madam Monica?
Yes, I just wanted to, first of all, perhaps thank you for giving us this platform to share on what we're doing in terms of women. But also I want to say that this fight against climate change is not only just for women. It also involves the men. And so I would like to appeal, we're working very well, with all our organizations that focus on women. But I would also like to encourage the men folk that some of the solutions and some of the things that we need to do to get us ahead will require their participation. So we are asking those forward-looking men to be a part of the fight in advancing, the rights of women. But of course, when we advance the rights of women, we're actually advancing the benefits of the country. So I make that appeal to our men folk to be part of what we do. Thank you.
I want to start with a lighter note. My colleague, I believe, is Mewa.
Yeah.
The one who sent the message. I believe he's male.
Not sure.
Because he's saying women.
Yeah,
so being male, biblically, we're supposed to be the providers. The question is, are we providing clean energy? So the problem is on us, men. Let's not transfer it to the women folk if we've not worked hard to provide clean energy for them.
Is there clean energy in the first place?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, we have now gas, we have solar. And those are better. Yeah. Better.
All right. So, Mr. Ngata, in closing, anything you'd want to say?
I would like to first of thank the viewers. Great, and of course, I would also like to thank everybody that has helped us to put this program together. Yeah, so thank you very much. I hope you continue giving us space to educate each other. It's not just about us teaching, but also learning from you as station managers and as well the viewers. Yeah.
All right, well said right there. So I would want to say thank you very much for coming to the studio, Madam Monica, and of course Mr. Nkata. And of course, we can only wish all the women a happy Women's Day. And of course, make sure that you are, advocating and of course pushing the agenda forward concerning climate change, so that definitely we can have a better environment. All right, it has been yours truly, Cuthbert, and of course I can join us again next time when we come with a different topic. For now, we're out.
Thank you.